And we move on to our middle album. Third is Pain to Power by Maruja.
My body is a shell, so why so much division? Is the joy left all our heads? Maybe it's the fear of having no one in our beds. It's empowering to think that all the hateful people out there, if they were only shown more love.
So this was my pick, which is a bit of a, yeah, I felt like I was sort of, you know, what do they say about like being down with the kids by picking this album, essentially. So, definitely got that meme of, is it joke? Steve Buscemi, yeah. That was me when I was like considering this as an album pick for the pod. And also, yeah, I think we often, like the last few years, we've had in the early part of the year that debut album, the big debut album. This year, Divorce, we went with, which generally well received. We had what was the one with Lucy Dacus and Phoebe Bridges. We had Boy Genius the year before, and then or sorry, 2023, and last year, The Last Dinner Party. We've had those ones. It's always been earlier in the year, but it was just interesting that we had this sort of big debut one where there's a lot of hype coming, so deep into the year, and they just seemed a very intriguing proposition. I kind of went into it, with that level of intrigue. Do I like this? I don't know. Who was kind of where I was kind of coming from with it. This is a band from Manchester who seem to take elements of like new metal, as they have, is it a saxophonist in the band as well, which features very.
It's an understatement.
Features very prominently. So you got this, it's kind of different in that sense. On that side of it, I'm thinking Black Country, New Road, and then the metal side of it, I'm thinking Rage Against the Machine, and meeting somewhere in the middle. And then sort of thematically, I suppose, they can join the likes of Bob Vylan and Kneecap, perhaps, with taking on, big social issues and writing their views on it. And quite a galvanizing effect, and they seem to be really sort of building up. So I think, they're essentially, they're an exciting band. I think they're one who, if they're on a bill live, you shouldn't hesitate to see, that's for sure. And then you go into this album, 9 tracks. I think 3 approach about 10 minutes. And when it hits. I mean, the one of the singles for me is probably the song of the year so far, which is Look Down on Us. That is just epic. Begins with this real nefarious bass, and it's just this atmosphere which is dark and intriguing. The railing against the greed of late stage capitalism, as they would put it. Just a massive sound, and it seems to be them at their best, or at least from my read of this album it is, and that is in the middle of Blood Sports, which is such a epic opener, big drums to kick it off, bit of rap rock, and then the first sort of cacophonous trumpet or saxophone rather. I never know with the brass instruments. So it's obviously saxophone because trumpet's not as diverse as what we hear here, but no, and that one's like Renegades.
This album with the trumpet would be funny.
Wouldn't be quite as different vibe.
Yeah.
Funny is the word. And then the other side, Look Down of Us. You have Southsea. Karl, you can probably best tell us how to pronounce the name there, but Sure. Thank you. So and that one, after 2 sort of massive rock tracks, they sort of really bring the tempo down a notch and focus on some positivity and do it in a way which is quite alluring on the album. But after those first three, you get a bit of repetition about how the songs are constructed. There's still, other very good tracks like Break the Tension, like Trenches, and the closing 10-minute track Reconcile. Whereas I think the others have remnants, but as fully fledged songs are not quite there, and it just becomes a little bit messy in that back half of this, brief by number of songs, but deep by minutes played on this album, and weirdly for a band who've really struck upon something quite new and different and exciting, engaging, is yeah, they seem to recycle too much by the end of the album, so it feels like they haven't gone into new avenues, and could do more on that front. But having said all that, like, this is an incredibly impressive debut album, one of the best debuts I've listened to all year. A band certainly to, keep up to date with, and intrigued to see where they go next, and one of sort of rock music's sort of bright lights right now. So glad to be down with the kids and bring something to our older ears, which we can appreciate, and frame against some of the bands of yore. so yeah, I don't know who wants to go next on Pain to Power.
You go next, Kylie.
All right. Yeah, I think, same as you, I saw the hype around this record, so I was pretty excited to check it out, and I really feel the same way about a lot of it. For me, I'm more into the middle of the record, the Sersha through like Trenches. I think it's fantastic, and for me, Born to Die, like the last couple of minutes of that song was one of my favorite music moments of this year. Just relentlessly heavy, and I think this is like we talked about Biffy Clyro and the corny lyrics. Like, this is a record that is meeting the moment, um, and feels very current and fresh, and unique between the free jazz and the sometimes a little new metal around the edge. It's a cool combo. I'm really into it. But yeah, I think same feedback as you. There's only so much it does. If this was like a really tight EP, I would have been really into it. But I think like by the time you're getting into Reconcile, the last 10-minute song there, it is relentless is the word that I kept on coming up with. And as much as I love free jazz and craziness like that, it is the saxophone, after a while just feels very one dimensional. And so, sometimes like, can we just go like a minute without having a a wailing sax on there and let it breathe a little bit? But yeah, I think and this is a Karl admire, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to be coming back to it, with some of it being some of my favorite moments of music this year. Just a little heavy around the edges on the runtime.
Okay, so positive words, but not one which
Yeah,
you
I enjoy it.
then,
It's good.
yeah. Okay, so Karl, are you gonna be ramping it up or sticking with a similar assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked it the most. I'd say I didn't know anything about Maruja heading into this record, which, considering it is a debut, maybe isn't too surprising, I guess. But
But
yeah,
they've apparently been around since like 2014, which
that's crazy.
Long?
yeah, when I was doing the research, yeah, debut 11 years. That it's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway,
Well, yeah, I mean, that kind of explains why there was probably so much buzz around this album dropping, and it was one of those that you know, went into it with like no expectation of what I was about to hear. And once it started, it really caught me off guard. You know, the type of music. If it's one of those that if you're not ready for it, it'll really throw you for six. But I think once that initial, you know, startling had passed, and I've grown accustomed to it, which was, and you know, that was the case from like the very first listen. Yeah, I was really digging this record. I think in an age of, you know, music where everything sounds like something you've heard before, you know, when something like this comes along that is genuinely, you know, a bit weird, a bit different, I find myself just really captivated by it. I think, you know, you mentioned a load of people there, um, Andrew, that you could like draw kind of like touch points to. I think the closest comparison I could make was to like Black MIDI, you know, with the experimental jazz and some of the mad arrangements that they've got going on here. But I think even with the, you know, the artist you mentioned and Black MIDI, even then I think there's more. I mean, certainly to MIDI, there's more coherence to what Maruja have put together here with the, you know, the passionate spoken word monologues. It yeah, it just ends up feeling very unique, as well as very impressive. You know, considering it is a debut, but then if you say they've been going since 2014, Kylie, maybe less impressive now. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you mentioned Look Down on Us. That is just for me, it's a towering work of a song. Yeah, it got that, you know, aggressive, quite angry start, then it breaks into that melancholic jazz passage, then it ends in just this almighty crescendo, and those cries of show love right at the end that just kind of like distort in the background. It's just unbelievable. It's one of those tracks where I almost needed like a minute or two. Like the first time I listened to it, I always needed a minute or two just to process what I just heard. Which yeah, just really blew me away. Next track, obviously, Shersha, gives you that breather to an extent. Just a really gorgeous track with um, it's all our differences that make us beautiful refrain. Really kind of, you know, the way that song's sung, just really really gorgeous. Yeah, Born to Die, again, just another colossus of a track, really poignant. At its core, it feels like it's about humility. Yeah, and I won't go into the saxophone on that song, the horn arrangements throughout, you know, I was really digging them. And yeah, the vocals, I must say, for all the kind of instrumentation wizardry that's going on in this album, the vocals are really goosebump inducing at times. Across this record. And yeah, I mean those three tracks are the standouts for me as well. But you know, break the tension, trenches. You know, a bit more in your face. Then you get is it Zaytune, which is like that really like ethereal instrumental, and then yeah, Reconcile delivers just a suitably epic finale to the whole project, leaving it on like this, you know, a bit of an optimistic note at the end. So yeah, just it was one of those that I was left kind of in awe of it. Um, I don't think it will be for everyone. But I think it's one that's, you know, because it's out there, it's a bit weird. As you say, Kylie, it's a very, very intense, very relentless 50-minute listen. But yeah, for me personally, yeah, shout out to you, Andrew, for picking this one, as it's one of those that even with all the hype and buzz around it, I might have missed it otherwise. And yeah, it just reaffirmed, you know, why I love doing this podcast each month is, the great recommendations that come out of it. And yeah, fantastic album for me.
Yeah, I'll pass that praise to the Ute of today for for giving them the
Teen kids
yeah.
waiting for 10
Yeah.
years for this debut.
I think it was actually like
Heaven.
being they were on the front cover of the NME, which is still a thing these days. And the NME is still somehow, it's, I don't know, it seems to be as an online production coming back quite nicely and being a good place to find new artists who younger listeners are enjoying and potentially
And they can talk
we
about
might use.
Oasis again.
Yes. Don't know if we'll ever do them on the pod.